Hi all, in this video I will show you how to implement a predictive search. What does predictive search mean? Predictive search is a functionality that you can see on websites like Google and Amazon, even Facebook. What is this functionality? When you have an input text box, you start to write, for example, some word first, and then the application has the intelligence to complete the words that you want to search for. As you can see here in my example, I only first write the first letters of the word, and then the web page or the input complete the string that maybe I want to search. As I told you, this functionality is important in websites that offer us the functionality to search. For example, on Amazon, if you want to buy some product, you start to write something or type something, then for you like a user or as a user, it's very important that if you can't remember the complete word or the entire word, is very helpful that you have the service that can complete your words. Then you can, with this functionality, you can sell or show a product. Then you can monetize, with this functionality, you can monetize the traffic on your website. This is the important of this functionality. Of course, we can complement it with the other functionality that you can see when you have no result. You can see a text like maybe you mean, and then you can see a suggestion word. Okay, let's code. First, this project was built using PHP and a basic project with Laravel. After I create an empty project with Laravel, the first things that I did was write my database connection parameters. This is the default. Of course, I can show you my information because it's sensitive. So let me modify here. Oh, well, really you must go to .env file. It is located on the root of your project. In my case, is here in predictive search. Okay, let's modify this date. I have my SQL software running on my computer. I am modifying my database connection, data connection parameters. Secret. Okay. Ready. Well, the next thing that maybe you want to do is this project is available on GitHub. So in this video, in the description area, you can get the link so you can have a copy from my project for this project. in order to analyze the entire code and maybe don't have any kind of problems when you are testing this functionality. Okay. Let's go to check the database. It's very important that you create this database schema, search, and of course in the .env file, you write this schema in the according section variable. Okay, in this point, this schema is empty because it's new. Then we must create a model in our project. So execute the according commands, and you can see here. Here directly in the root directory or path directory from app, because this is a controversial place where you can put a model, because model, like Laravel website said, a model can be a database, can be a class, can be many things. So to avoid these conflicts, Laravel decided to put here. Then every developer can put this model, class model, in the place where everyone thinks that is the right place. So I create this model, thinking that Laravel provides a default user table. So we only use here the name, email, and password. This is the first thing that I did, that I write here in this file. The second thing, when you execute the create model command, you only get this basic structure without this function. This function, the goal from this function is to get the data from the database, like this. Here I am getting the data from the table. Here is my class user. User extending is extending model class. Is an eloquent class. Here you can see that. And then I use this collection function. When I get the result, I get a collection, data collection, and then I use this collection function to get only the information in the column name. Okay. Now the next thing that I did was the migration. Let's go here. Here we have. Well, in the migration path, by default, when we create an empty project, Laravel create these both files. This file is for create users table. This file is for create password table, password set table. In this project, I can't use this. I don't use this table. Only get focus on this. Here we can see the structure of this table when in the up function, and then when we have this thing ready, we can execute our migration from in the console. Here I have this. Let me see. Okay, I clean on all my log history. Okay, here from the console, I execute PHP artisan, execute migration, and then when I execute that, these tables are created on your schema. Of course, if you don't get any kind of error, right? In this point, the tables are empty. This is data that I had previously. To populate the user table, for populate the user table, I used this set file. I create with command line. I create a seeder file. Here I have conflict with the convention. The convention for naming convention for this seeder was tells you must include the action and this word seeder, and then like I want to create a table, I shall write table user seeder, but I disagree with that. Why? Because I write database or if I write table, I am telling the things twice. Why? Because if I am here in database folder, of course, if I write a file is for a database or is for a relative to tables. So I think, in my opinion, I think that it's not necessary to write that word in the file name. And the other thing is seeder. If I have or I am inside the seeds folder, I guess it's not necessary to write seeder. Instead of that naming convention, I decided to write table name users and to go for that seeder users for search. Imagine if I am in a team working over seeds directory, and two developers want to create a seed for a user table. So which of that? You have two options: exclude this from your code versioning, or use this kind of naming file. So I prefer this. Well, here in this seeder, after I execute command line to create this seeder, I use eloquent structure. You can use raw commands with db class, but I use eloquent functionality. First, I create the object for user from user. Then I populate name, email, and password. At the end, I save all of that. When you create this file, after you create this file, you must execute the command line to execute seeders. When you create that command, now you can see the data on your table like this. Also, I erased other row, but if you execute the seeder, you can see here the email, of course, full email, and the password. Well, at this point, we have project, we have model, we have database connection, we have table, and we have table information, right? Now it's time to create the view. Let me see. It's here. In easy way, I copy this file. Welcome is the default file from Laravel. I copy this file. I only add this little part, form. I add the form, the input text, and submit button. But like this is an example, I can't add or assign any kind of functionality with this button. I only focus on this, the input type. Here is the important thing. First of all, I need to include JQuery. Let me see what is the style, CSS. And at the end of the body, I include this, the JQuery framework. Look this, JQuery, that's it. And then JQueryui. Why? Because JQuery allows me to use Ajax functionality, and JQueryui allows me to, or let me to use the autocomplete function. Next, I wrote this part, this block of JavaScript. The first thing is usability. The input box must have the focus on when the website is valid, and then accessing by class, by name. assign the search predictive function. I assigned this function the key-up event. Then I send search form parameter, the query, and the event. Here's the form name. Here's the input name, and here is the event. When we go to analyze this code, the search predictive, we can see why I sent the event. Okay, now let's go to check this file. Search predictive. That is a custom JavaScript file. Now let's go to this. According to best practices to code, look this. Of course, we must include more or other key codes different from alphanumeric key codes, but this is the most common. Yeah. So here I write the number to up key, down key, right key, and left key. This is the directional keys. Then if I press directional key when I am writing on the input box, the function finish immediately because it's not necessary to do anything. Talking about the search predictive. The next thing, in this if case statement, I decided to search for 3 or more characters. Why? Because maybe an article, or short words is most common that you can find in a table, or most you have more probability to get results. So when you have 3 or more letters, you reduce the quantity of matches that you can found in a table. Here, for didactical purposes, I wrote in the web browser console or log every step that the program is doing, like this, more than 3 characters. Here I am preparing the request sending. Here is the Ajax. Remember, you need to include JQuery JavaScript to get this function available for your project. The type is a get. Look, I am sending the value of the query input. This is a query ID. And then when we get the answer, when I get the answer, I write receive request, the response containing data, in case that you get an OK response. I print successful response. The response data now is available for tags. It means that the information that we get from the database that had matched with our query string or searching string, that list now is in this variable. I print this value, and at the end of the function, I assign this list tags to the value or the autocomplete values from our input box. Here I write if I get another kind of request. I write error requesting, and if I directly get an error when I was sending the request, I get this error action writing in my console log, error server did not respond. Okay. Let's go back a little. Where you can write your API. Here in the route, let me check. Where is my route? Routes. Here we have. In API file, because we are not working with web request. We are working with API because we are requesting information from our database. So the only thing that I did was this. I wrote this route and I added this originally this file only has these lines, and then I add this. This is for get all the routes, and this is for get the access to the controller and the function of that controller. Of course, the name. Okay, now let's go to see the controller. Here we are. Okay, when I create this controller, by default it includes all this function, and at the end there's no problem, no? But at the end I add my own function predict. Okay, so when we are requesting to this route that it will be attended like this route, it will be attended for this controller and this function. So we are here, this controller, search controller, and predict function. So I write this state, 200 OK, to 200, okay. And in data tag, I use this model function to get the list of matches rows in only one column, name column. Now let's go back to the model. See where it is. Here we have. Okay. With the string that I write on the input box is sending as a parameter to this function of the model user. So with that search string, we get the information of the rows from the table user, all the things that match with first, okay, 3 rows will be returned as an answer. So with Plug, I only get the result from column name. Then when I get this result, okay, here I get the result, I return this list of results, this collection, to our controller, and then our controller return the state and data in a JSON structure for this API. Okay, so this API now, after requesting, now get the response, this response. So to work with the response, we check in the state property if I have 200, okay, if I have that, so I get the list of tags, and then I pass here. The application starts to load this list to the control or to the input query in autocomplete, and then the view is refreshed. Let's see that in action, but now let's see the details. I wrote the first word, okay, nothing happened because this is less than 3 characters. Now I press up key, down key, right key, left key, nothing happened. Let's write the second character, nothing happened, and now the third character. Here you have. Now the data is loaded on the control, but when we press the next character, we can get the completed list of suggestions. Okay, we have now this. First name. Okay, now let's filter for first name C. First name. Oh, first name C. We have no suggestion for that. Now we have suggestions again. B. Okay, I got it. I only press enter. And here we can check all the process. More than 3 characters and request, search predictive function, more than 3 characters, the answer, the state, the data, adding autocomplete, receive request. With this information, we can track all the process. And let me check if I don't forget something. No. Okay. And that's all. Remember, we used PHP, we used Laravel, and MySQL. If you want to get a copy from this project, you can get it from a GitHub link that you can see in the description area from this video. That's all. See you.